On November 7, 1989, Malaysian Airlines flight MH192 took off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. It was en route to Kathmandu with 167 passengers and 11 crew members on board. The plane's pilot was Rajiv Chandra, 47, an experienced aviator with 15,000 flight hours, over 2,000 of which were in the Himalayan region. The co-pilot was 36-year-old Li Wei, a talented pilot who transitioned to civil aviation after serving in the Malaysian Air Force for 8 years. That day, one of the fiercest storms of the decade raged over the Himalayas. Meteorologists recorded wind gusts of up to 120 km per hour and a sharp drop in pressure. The air temperature at 7,000 meters was a monstrous minus 58 degrees Celsius. Despite the severe weather, flight MH192 was cleared to fly, as forecasts promised better conditions by the time it reached the Himalayas. The last radio exchange with the plane occurred at 1843 local time. Captain Chandra reported entering turbulence and requested permission to change altitude. Control, this is MH192, we're encountering severe turbulence. Requesting descent to 7,600. The transmission cut off mid-sentence. The plane vanished from radar as if swallowed by the air between the mountain peaks. Search operations began immediately but were hampered by the extreme weather. 8 helicopters and 12 ground teams combed the suspected crash zone for 3 weeks. The search yielded nothing. In one of the most inaccessible parts of the Himalayas, where peaks tower over 7,000 meters, the plane seemed to have vanished into oblivion. A month later, Nepalese authorities officially called off the search, declaring all passengers and crew dead. Among the 167 passengers were tourists from 14 countries, a group of Buddhist monks on an annual pilgrimage, and the famed Himalayan climber Johann Steiner and his 5-person team. For the families of the missing, years of painful uncertainty and futile hope began. For 34 years, the mystery of flight MH192 remained unsolved, until June 2023, when an international climbing expedition led by Alex Mackenzie attempted the eastern face of Mount Kanchenjunga, the world's 3rd highest peak. The team consisted of 5. Mackenzie himself, a 46-year-old Scotsman with 2 decades of Himalayan climbing experience; Anna Sokolova, a 38-year-old Kazakh mountaineer who had summited all 8,000s; James Hope, an Australian doctor and climber; Minho Park, a South Korean high-altitude photographer; and Churing Sherpa, a 3rd-generation Nepalese guide. Initially, the expedition aimed to test a new route on Kanchenjunga's eastern face, long considered impassable due to sheer ice walls and frequent avalanches. All 6 previous attempts to conquer this route had failed, claiming 4 climbers over the years. Locals called this part of the mountain Korlo Lamo, Wheel of the Death Goddess in Tibetan dialect. Legend held that the mountain goddess hid the gates to the afterlife here, where the souls of the dead passed through. At around 5,800 meters, the climbers encountered inexplicable phenomena. Electronic compasses gave erratic readings, as if something in the mountain was distorting the magnetic field. GPS devices periodically lost signal despite clear skies. The team attributed it to the rock's composition, perhaps high iron or other metal content. On the 3rd morning, as the group camped on a narrow ledge at 6,200 meters, Anna was the first to notice the strange behavior of birds. A massive flock of Himalayan vultures, rare in this area, circled over a steep slope half a kilometer from camp. Among them were 2 much larger birds, Himalayan eagles with wingspans up to 3 meters. What was unusual wasn't just their presence at such altitude but their flight pattern. The eagles seemed to trace the same figure in the air, returning repeatedly to a specific point on the slope as if trying to draw the climber's attention. Seeing the birds, chirring Sherpa paled and refused to continue the ascent. Pressed by the team, he shared a local legend. His grandfather claimed this mountain was home to Ram Trolma, mountain guardian spirits that take the form of giant birds, guarding the intersection of the living and dead worlds. When the Ram Trolma circle a spot, they protect souls trapped between worlds. Despite skepticism, Mackenzie was intrigued. The eagle's behavior resembled that of raptors spotting large prey. The team rerouted to investigate, losing only a few hours at worst. The detour led them to a steep ice slope ending in a cliff. As they neared the eagle's focal point, the birds grew even more erratic, diving almost to head height before soaring back up as if guiding them. Suddenly, one eagle plunged into the snow 30 meters away. When the climbers approached, it took off, but left behind a deep hole. Minho Park dug with his ice axe, striking something metallic at a meter's depth. After 15 more minutes of excavation, they uncovered a piece of white fuselage with a red and blue stripe, the unmistakable livery of Malaysian Airlines. The climbers were stunned. Before them lay the wreckage of a passenger plane at over 6,000 meters, in a place deemed unreachable even to seasoned mountaineers. Their first thought was to call for rescue, but their satellite connection failed. Despite full battery, no signal went through. They expanded the excavation, uncovering more of the fuselage by evening, including the inscription, MH192. It was the same Malaysian flight that had vanished without a trace 34 years earlier. Now it was clear why it had never been found. It had crashed in a location considered utterly inaccessible. No helicopter could hover at that altitude due to thin air, and ground teams would never have reached this slope, which led to no known summit. The next morning, the climbers resumed clearing snow. By noon, they found a crack in the fuselage wide enough to enter. Mackenzie and Sokolova, the most experienced, ventured inside while the others continued excavating outside. Time seemed frozen inside the plane. Oxygen masks dangled from the ceiling, and half-finished drinks sat on trays. An open-time magazine in the aisle showed a cover photo of the Berlin Wall days before its fall. Moving carefully to avoid disturbing the debris, they found climbing gear in the first-class cabin, an ice axe engraved J.S., Johann Steiner's initials, his passport, and a remarkably preserved leather-bound notebook. Opening it sent chills down Mackenzie's spine. It was Steiner's post-crash diary. The last entry was dated December 16, 1989, over a month after the plane's disappearance. The diary revealed a harrowing survival story. Of the 178 on board, only 47 survived the first night. Most died on impact when the plane crashed into the mountainside during a snowstorm. Captain Chandra, among the survivors, took charge, organizing shelter in the fuselage and rationing salvaged food and water. Steiner wrote that the plane crashed due to a bizarre magnetic anomaly. All instruments failed simultaneously, leaving the pilots flying blind. Minutes before impact, Chandra saw a strange glow on the mountainside, as if the mountain itself shone from within. By the 5th day, survivors noticed giant eagles circling the wreck. On the 7th day, one dropped a fresh mountain goat carcass into their shelter. The birds continued bringing food for weeks, saving them from starvation. But by late November, conditions worsened. Heavy snow buried the fuselage and oxygen ran low. On December 4th, only 18 remained alive. Chandra proposed digging a tunnel to escape. The eagles still circled daily, as if trying to tell us something, Steiner wrote. His final entry read, "Tunnel dug. We're out. Captain says we must descend the southeast ridge." The eagles flew off. Saw that glow again on the rocks, pulsing like a living heart. Local monks say it's the light of transition, a path to another dimension. If someone finds this, know we fought to the end. The climbers were shocked. Some passengers had survived the crash and attempted descent. But what happened next? Why were they never found? And what role did the eagles play? Further exploration revealed the cockpit's flight log. Chandra had documented anomalies until the end, compasses spinning wildly, altimeters reading -2000 meters, and radio operators hearing voices in an unknown language. One entry described monks performing rituals toward the glow, calling it a gate between worlds. In the tail section, they found the emergency exit open from inside, surrounded by dozens of eagle feathers arranged in a spiral. At its center lay a small metal amulet, a Tibetan charm depicting a winged being. Outside, they followed a snow tunnel leading from the wreck to a cliff edge, blocked by a 500-meter ice wall. If the survivors had gone this way, their bodies should have been below, but there was no trace. That night, Hope's satellite phone suddenly crackled to life, emitting Morse code, We are alive but not here. A pulsating blue glow appeared on a nearby rock, bending flashlight beams as if warping space. On their final morning the eagles returned, encircling the climbers. One dropped a tattered wallet at Mackenzie's feet, Captain Chandra's ID and a family photo. On its back was written, "Gone through the light. New life. Do not look for us here." After reporting their discovery, authorities confirmed the wreck but found no further traces of the survivors. Strange details emerged. The crash site had unnaturally high levels of rare earth metals, gadolinium, neodymium. The black box revealed instruments failed due to an electromagnetic anomaly. Chandra's last words, "What is that light? Pull up." Locals spoke of wanderers, appearing years later with odd knowledge and spiral amulets. DNA tests showed some feathers belonged to no known bird species. A page in Chandra's jacket pocket contained advanced equations describing a theoretical wormhole, decades ahead of their time. Months later, Mackenzie received an unsigned package. A silver eagle pendant inscribed, "The path is open to those who believe. Seek us at dawn." Chandra's widow shared that he dreamed of flying through a tunnel of light, guarded by giant birds before his final flight. "If something happens," he told her, "know I didn't die, I just moved elsewhere." Minho Park's photographs later revealed an eerie detail, an eagle soaring over the wreck, but its shadow on the snow had a human silhouette. To this day the eagles return yearly as if guarding the site. Locals now call the eastern slope, the Path of Birds, claiming that in clear weather, a shimmering door between worlds can sometimes be seen. As one monk said, "Some mountain secrets exist not to be solved, but to remind us of the limits of human understanding."